It's next time. I don't know how I feel about this game. I think it'll take me perhaps more than one playthrough, perhaps a couple of days to process it. Let's move on anyway.
Longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Okay. Stage. Okay. This is intimidating. It's so huge. Oh, fuck. Okay. Okay. Sure. Where's the bathroom? Hi. Is this internal dialogue? Internal anxiety? Here are all of my hopes and dreams. It's just gonna criticize me no matter what I do. Okay. Okay. This is horrific. Happy, wise, focused, successful. All of the things that you want to be. Very well. This game has made me shudder 3 times. Better get me off the stage, huh? Why do I feel like I'm getting shorter?
The game ends with this eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating.
Sure.
He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him.
Is that justification? Is this justification? It doesn't look like justification to me. This is conveying the concept of the horror of what he's doing very clearly, I think.
Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Okay. Well, let's see it then. What? Okay, I have my eyes closed then. I have clicked. I can't see shit. I don't believe you. When I open my eyes. When I opened my eyes. Help, I'm blind. I closed them again. No, I'm just gonna look. Am I gonna be killed by a giant door? Oh, and it keeps going.
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise.
Blind,
and there
blind,
is
blind.
a solution, by the way.
There is. Assess whisper. Hey, it's the whisper. Does it involve hitting a lever? Nope. Speak something that is honest? Okay, I wasn't really reading the options. What's going on? Huh. I can't keep making these. Shit. Wow.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So, where's that coming from? But then, even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore.
Have you ever had something you really love? Be it gaming or art or reading, anything. Especially if it's creating something, I think, but anything you enjoy, and you sit down or you go out to do it one day and you still love it, but it just makes you tired. It drains you. And I think this is interesting to me as well, because what I'm doing right here, right now, in some ways, it's a performance. You know, no matter how real I'm being with you right now, it's the same as if I were to invite friends over to my house, my closest friends, the people that I act the most natural around, the most like myself. I still tidy the living room. I still maybe think about, what are we gonna watch? Do I have some... Do they like beers? Do I have beers in the fridge? Do I have wine in the fridge for them to enjoy? Or some food to make if they're hungry. Even if I'm being as natural as I can, that's still a performance, and being around people is draining. And this, what I'm doing right now, is draining. It's tiring. It's work. The people that say that, you know, oh no, find a job that you love and then you'll never work a day in your life, they're full of shit. Everything is work. Everything is draining, even if you love it. And sometimes you're too tired to do the things you love, and you're out of ideas, and you're out of motivation. You don't know what to do anymore, and it hurts. Doesn't feel good. And I think we've all been there. A lot of us have been there for sure, and I don't know how many of us really take the time to talk about it or admit it. Sometimes there just doesn't seem to be as much meaning in something as there was the day before. Yeah. I don't know, that's my own tangent. Make of it what you will.
And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
See, it makes me wonder if Mr. Coda here is alive. And if our developer here... I mean, how could he have got the games then, but... Wondering if you could have done something is something I have done Many times. Many, many times.
His games are going to get more desperate from here on out.
I
After this
figured.
game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
Okay. I feel like this is gonna hurt my heart, man. Where am I? Okay. Very interesting music. Just conversations with the self. Art is primarily for yourself. That's what I would want to know.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle,
I hit
frustration,
3.
anxiety, depression.
I hit 3.
And yet still he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on.
I recognize this. I'm going to share a premonition. I have a premonition that one day this second switch, this hidden switch, will not be on this door anymore. And perhaps there won't be a solution to the puzzle. Let's see, though.
You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
You say that as if it's so simple. As if the millions of deaths don't somehow refute your point. Maybe you're right. But right doesn't fix things. The sobbing in the background. Can I just leave? But it wasn't true. This thing here taught just fake it till you make it. How many times have you heard that?
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like Video games are not worth this amount of suffering.
The video game is an answer to the suffering.
This is someone I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten.
Is that the prison?
I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
It gets longer every time, it would seem. The Machine. That was more or less what the last one was about. A guard. Okay. So the machine, your own brain, essentially. Yep, we're getting increasingly meta.
And of course, it's the machine.
Here I am in Spotlight. Huh. We do not need its games. Wow. Let us show it that we are not failures. What do you mean by that? Okay. What? Jesus.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for it? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
What is that? Well, here we
So
go.
I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Put down your weapon. Well, this is certainly
Can
symbolic.
you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need. To be told that my work is good. That I am good.
Did you do it without
someone
permission?
Really connects with a thing that
Yeah, but did you do it without permission? If he did not say that he wanted his work to be shared and he trusted you with that piece of himself, why would you share it with other people? If it were me, I would be furious.
I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something. I really felt like I'd done something good. Like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem.
I do understand wanting to fix it. I understand. Some things are more important.
When they told
Are you fixing it for yourself or are you fixing it for them? Is saying that you're fixing it for them an excuse to make yourself feel good?
me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute
Best feeling for you.
best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made.
Okay.
So let's take a look. And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game.
I see almost claustrophobia, even in a huge space. See how the walls cave in on you?
This room actually has a maze in it.
What?
Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
1 second. Damn it. Fine. Thank you for the bridge, developer. I find myself wondering how true, I say that with air quotes, how true
And
this
to be
all
fair,
is.
it's not like this is the first.
I mean, it could just as well be totally fictional. I mean, the Stanley Parable was so subversive itself, this could just be a great way to tell a really interesting narrative from the first perspective, from the first-person perspective. It doesn't have to be, in some ways, it doesn't have to be a true story to be true, if that makes sense.
Game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end.
I thought you said that, but you can't stay there, you have to move on. So we had to leave and the door was open. I thought that was Coda's design, not yours.
But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
What is this?
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code.
Wow.
Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
This feels despairing. I mean, picture this a little differently. Picture these great red gates in this darkness, and these stairwells in the distance leading to these doors that lead also into the darkness, these almost cage-like rooms growing out of the walls. These noises, and then chain some humans to the walls. Expressions, full of agony. And tell me that it doesn't look like hell. Tell me that it doesn't mean despair. That's what I see. It's almost hellish. This is hellish. That down there, that's hellish. Let's keep going. I know I've been quiet during this series. That's alright.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges, and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
Feeling like a failure because you cannot fix the problem. How many times have I been there? How many times have many of us been there? Alright. Let's be there some more next time.